What if I told you that one of the most powerful longevity habits has nothing to do with supplements, superfoods, or some exotic anti-aging protocol? What if the real difference between waking up restored and waking up inflamed, heavy, foggy, and older than you should feel comes down to one simple question? How close to sleep are you still eating? Most people think aging is just about what they eat. Too much sugar, too many seed oils, not enough protein, not enough collagen, the wrong supplements, the wrong macros, the wrong diet. But this is only part of the story, because your body does not just care about what enters the system. It cares when the system finally stops receiving. And for millions of people, that moment never really comes. Dinner runs late, dessert lands even later, and a few bites while scrolling quietly turn into another snack, another taste, another little spike of digestion, blood sugar, heat, and metabolic activity right as the body is supposed to be shifting in the opposite direction. So people go to sleep full. They wake up puffy, they sleep hot, they toss more than they should, they feel unrestored in the morning. And they call it stress, bad luck, age, hormones, or just modern life. But what if the real problem is simpler than that? What if late eating is silently stealing your nightly repair window? Because that is what most people never understand. The body has a rhythm, a handoff, a change of state. During the day, the body is built for intake, input, movement, decision-making, fuel handling, external demand. But at night, the body is supposed to begin a different kind of work. It is supposed to settle digestion, lower stimulation, shift the nervous system, stabilize blood sugar, drop body temperature, deepen sleep architecture, and enter the quiet internal labor of repair. This is where modern life makes its mistake. We do not just eat badly, we eat endlessly. We drag the day into the night. We blur the line between feeding and recovery until the body no longer gets a clean signal that intake is over. And when that signal never comes, repair gets compressed. Not always destroyed, but delayed, disturbed, and crowded. Night after night, year after year. That is the deeper issue. Aging is not just damage. Aging is also the accumulation of interrupted repair. And one of the easiest ways to interrupt repair is to keep eating too close to sleep. Think about what your body is being asked to do in those final hours of the night. Your body is supposed to be preparing for rest, slowing digestion, settling hormones, and shifting the nervous system towards sleep. But when food keeps coming in late, it also has to keep processing calories, managing blood sugar, handling stomach acid, and staying metabolically active at exactly the time it should be powering down. These are competing jobs, and when food keeps coming in late, the body stays more occupied with processing when it should be moving deeper into recovery. This is why late eating often has effects people don't immediately connect. Restless sleep, heaviness in the stomach, reflux, waking too warm, waking dull, feeling oddly hungry or unstable the next day, wanting more sugar after a poor night, feeling like the body never fully reset. That is not weakness. That is not a lack of discipline. That is biology reacting to blurred timing. Ancient cultures did not speak in terms of circadian insulin sensitivity, glucose excursions, or sleep architecture. But many traditional systems understood something modern people forgot. The body thrives on rhythm. There is a time for intake, and there is a time for withdrawal, a time for action, and a time for restoration. Modern science now keeps circling back to the same truth from different directions. Meal timing matters. Late eating tends to be handled differently than earlier eating. Glucose control is often worse later in the day. Sleep can be more easily disturbed when digestion is still active close to bedtime. Reflux risk rises when people lie down too soon after eating. And the more chaotic the evening feeding window becomes, the harder it is for the body to make a clean transition into the physiology of night. That is why this rule matters. Not because it is magic, not because 3 hours is some sacred number written into the cosmos, but because it creates a buffer, a closing signal, a protected stretch of time where the body can stop receiving and begin shifting. This is the 3-hour rule. Finish your last real meal about 3 hours before sleep. That's it. Not punishment, not starvation, not a contest of willpower, just a clean cutoff that gives the body time to move from feeding into digesting, from digesting into settling, and from settling into recovery. If you sleep at 11, finish dinner around 8. If you sleep at 10:30, finish around 7:30. If your current habit is snacking at 10:45, you do not need to become a monk overnight. Just begin moving the line back. 10:30 becomes 9:30. 9:30 becomes 9. 9 becomes 8:30. The body loves progress even before it sees perfection. And this is important. The 3-hour rule is not about being rigid for the sake of being rigid. It is about giving the body a clear stopping point, because without a stopping point, there is no real handoff into the night. Now, what actually begins to change when you do this? First, digestion gets a chance to settle before you lie down, and that alone can change a lot. Less pressure, less heaviness, and less of that acid creeping upward when you try to sleep. Second, sleep often gets cleaner. Not necessarily longer overnight, but cleaner and deeper, less broken, less hot, and less burdened by the feeling that the body is still working through a backlog. Third, morning energy often changes in a way that is hard to explain until you feel it. You wake up lighter, not euphoric, not superhuman, just less bogged down, less like you are dragging unfinished business from the night into the next day. That matters more than people think, because when sleep improves, cravings often improve. When cravings improve, choices improve. When choices improve, inflammation often improves. And suddenly, a small timing habit begins to create second-order effects across the whole system. This is why simple habits are often more powerful than dramatic ones. They are repeatable. And the habits that shape aging are rarely the ones that look impressive on paper. They are the ones that keep working quietly in the background. Now let's be clear about what this is not. This is not extreme fasting. This is not a commandment that says you must never eat at night again. This is not a cure-all. This does not override total diet quality. And it does not mean that one late meal ruins your life. That kind of thinking is part of the problem too. The point is not obsession. The point is alignment. You are not trying to become fragile around food. You are trying to become intentional about the final hours before sleep. Because those final hours are not empty time. They are the runway into the night. And if you fill that runway with constant intake, the body never gets the clean takeoff it needs into repair. So, how do you make this practical? The first step is to decide what time the kitchen closes. Not emotionally, not vaguely. Actually decide, pick the bedtime, count back 3 hours. That is the line. The second step is to make dinner real enough that late-night snacking becomes less likely. A weak dinner creates a hungry night. A satisfying dinner makes the cutoff easier. The third step is to replace the habit loop, not just remove it. A lot of late eating is not true hunger. It is ritual. scrolling hunger, reward hunger, TV hunger, stress release hunger. So give the nervous system a new cue. Replace the habit with something that closes the loop instead. Tea, water, a short walk, a shower, lower light, anything that tells the brain the day is closing instead of reopening. And this is where the deeper philosophy comes in. Most people do not need more input. They need a better boundary. The body already knows how to repair. It already knows how to regulate. It already knows how to downshift, clean up, and restore. But modern habits keep interrupting the moment that process is supposed to begin. So, the power of the 3-hour rule is not that it forces the body to do something unnatural. It is that it stops blocking what the body was already designed to do. That is why it feels so ancient, even though science now gives us modern language for it. It is a rhythm rule, a threshold rule, a discipline of closure, and over time, that matters. In the first few nights, many people simply notice less heaviness at bedtime. Within a week, some notice cleaner sleep and more stable mornings. After a couple of weeks, late-night cravings often lose some of their grip because the pattern itself begins to weaken. And over months and years, you are no longer rehearsing the same nightly interruption over and over again. You are protecting the window. You are giving the body back part of the night. That is a very different way to age. Not by forcing youth, by reducing interference. So here's the real shift. Stop thinking of the evening as one long blurred eating window and start thinking of it as a handoff, a closing ceremony between the demands of the day and the repair work of the night. Because your body does some of its most important work when you stop adding more work to it. That is the secret. Not more input or more stimulation, but better timing, a cleaner cutoff, and just enough space for biology to change states. So tonight, think ahead. Protect your nightly repair window. Let the system settle, and let your body do what it has been trying to do all along. Welcome to Autophagy Unlocked.